This is Deref Sites. This HTML tutorial is about HTML links. Here's our example. The home page has an image map. We talked about how to create this image map in another tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be focused on the interrelationship between pages, how to connect from one to another using links. First we'll run the application. Detroit takes us to the Detroit page, and at the bottom there are some links to Detroit maps and also to the Detroit homepage, which comes up in another tab in the browser. We'll close that. Notice that at the top of our pages we have this navigation region up here, frequently referred to as a breadcrumbs trail. When we go to the Detroit maps, we see it tells us each step to get back to the home page. We're currently in Detroit maps, that's the title there, and we came from Detroit, which came from the home page. We can click one back, or we can go two back to the home page. New York City, a similar pattern. The navigation area at the top, New York City maps, and the New York City homepage. Washington, D.C., same pattern, title, some pictures, maps, and a homepage. Texas, everything follows the same pattern. Let's look at the folder where these files, the HTML files are. Here's the folder. Our home page is right there, and in the same folder that it's in, all the other HTML pages are at the exact same level. There's an images folder. If we click in there, we have our various images in there. Our window's not wide enough to show everything, but they're all in there. And going back, there's also a design folder where we have a navigation map. We'll look at the navigation map now. This navigation map is used to design this little website. It shows the home page here, and then indented all the pages that are available directly from the home page: Atlanta, Colorado, Detroit, New York, Texas, and Washington, D.C. And for each one, like Atlanta, the pages directly accessible from it. So you can see we have a hierarchical structure for this website, and that's a very good structure to have when you use a breadcrumbs area at the top. Breadcrumbs are fundamentally hierarchical. This is again a design tool, and also can be used to document, to give an overall view of your website in a design document. We'll look at the HTML pages now. The first page is the home page. We've already talked about the navigation map in that page, but there's an href attribute with each area tag that gives the page name, and these are relative URLs. They're relative to the location of this home page. They're in the same folder at the same level. There's no need for any folder path name in front of the HTML file name. We're not going to talk about the image map beyond that. That was the subject of another tutorial. Let's now go and look at the Detroit page here. In the body section, right at the top, before The heading is our little navigation area, the breadcrumbs for that page. It uses an anchor tag, which is an A tag. That's how you do links, is with the A tag. It has an href attribute telling you where to go to. The A tag is a binary tag, has a beginning and ending pair, and the text to show in the browser is between them, so you'll see home here. The greater than sign that we see in the breadcrumbs trail is from this entity character reference here, ampersand GT semicolon. We put that on a separate line because that break here will give us a space, and we'll want a space before the greater than sign. Then the title of the page, some images in the page. Notice that the images also use a relative URL, but they have the image folder that they have to refer to because the images are in there, and actually there's folders inside images. There's a folder for Detroit, a folder for each city in there, in each state. Down here, linking to other pages, which is the subject of this tutorial. Again, the A tag is used to link from one page to another. The href attribute, you put the URL, this is a relative URL, and the text that you want to appear on the page, Detroit Maps. To go to the Detroit homepage, which is set up by the Detroit, Michigan government, this A tag, the href, uses an absolute URL. It's the full domain name and protocol type, in this case HTTPS. And so we see here the two different kinds of URLs, Uniform Resource Locators. There's the relative one without the path in front of it, or if there is a path, just a relative path to where you're at. And the absolute one, you have to put the full URL because it's external to this site. Let's now look at the Detroit Maps page. On that page, the navigation area has two levels that it can go back to. It can go back to Detroit or the home page. You can see the greater than symbol here for each one and how that works. We'll again go back and run the application one more time. So we have a little example that we've looked at now that shows how a set of pages can be put together into a website, and how the user can use just clicking on links, in this case a navigation map like Colorado, takes you to Colorado, and clicking these links can take you to a relative location within the same website, such as the Colorado Maps, or an absolute, such as the Colorado homepage out on the internet somewhere else. And that one, by the way, we should mention the difference here about when you link to another page. There's two different techniques for how it can transition in the browser. When we're linking to these external websites, we cause them to come up in a separate tab. You notice here a separate tab, and we can just close the tab because we're not going to be putting any breadcrumbs on the Colorado homepage. We don't have any access to that. So that's in a separate tab, and it brings us back to where we were. Whereas if we go to the Colorado Maps, that replaces the current page, and we have the breadcrumbs to get back. Let's look at the code to see how that's done. That technique in HTML, when we want a link to come up in another tab, or it might be another browser window depending on the settings of the user has for their browser, you use in the A tag a target attribute, and a value of _blank causes it to bring up that target, that linked page, in another tab or another browser window. If you leave that out, as we did here just for the maps page, it brings the new page and replaces the current page. And if you don't have a breadcrumbs navigation area, the user would have to use the back arrow in the browser to go back one level to where they were. Let's again go one last time to the actual application. So looking at that again, if we go to the Colorado homepage, it's in a separate tab. We just close the tab. If we go to the maps page, we don't have to hit the back arrow because we have this breadcrumbs trail. We can just hit Colorado, go one step back, or if we want to go all the way back to the home page, we do it with one click. So this should give you an idea about how a set of pages can work together in a website using the A tag and also the image map also is another way to use the links as well. This concludes this tutorial on links.